Under the bruised violet sky of early dusk, the vast stretch of Montana's wild grasslands stretched like an ocean of gold and shadow, the breeze whispering secrets through the tall prairie grass. The air hung thick with the scent of damp earth and the faint, lingering trace of smoke from distant forest fires that had scorched the northern hills weeks before. Amidst this endless sea of waving stalks and wildflowers, a solitary figure moved steadily along a narrow dirt road that sliced through the wilderness like a scar, a great buffalo named Thunder, whose massive, muscular frame bore the marks of a life hardened by survival and loss. Thunder's coat, a tapestry of deep russet and ebony, was marred by old scars, a jagged slash over his left shoulder, a crooked hoof from an ancient injury that slowed his pace just enough to remind him of battles fought and endured. His eyes, dark pools reflecting both the vast sky and the weight of experience, flicked cautiously toward the edge of the forest lining the road, tall pines that whispered with the wind and harbored shadows that had long been his silent enemies. Tonight, something was different. A restless tension pulsed in the air, a subtle ripple of danger that prickled Thunder's senses. Ahead, the dirt road curved slightly, and a low growl pierced the quiet, raw, guttural, and urgent. From the underbrush burst a pack of wild dogs, their wiry frames ragged and wild-eyed, teeth bared in snarls of aggression. They had been watching Thunder for days, circling his territory like ghosts of menace, hungry and desperate, driven by the harsh winter months that starved the land. Yet as they surged forward, snarling and snapping, something remarkable happened. Thunder did not charge or bellow in defiance. He stood firm, towering and unyielding, muscles coiled like steel cables beneath his heavy fur. Instead of meeting force with force, he let loose a mighty bellow, a deep, resonant sound that shook the very air, reverberating through the trees and rattling the pack's nerves. His eyes locked with the lead dog, a grizzled male with a patch of fur missing from his cheek, and in that moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them. Thunder was no mere beast to be trifled with. The dogs faltered, retreating briefly, ears pinned back, teeth still bared but wary now. Yet hunger and desperation drove them onward. They attacked again, snapping at his legs and flanks. Sharp teeth tore into Thunder's flesh, drawing blood, but the mighty buffalo did not retaliate with fury. Instead, he used his sheer size to shove and intimidate, each movement deliberate to scare rather than to harm. After what seemed like an eternity of circling and snarling, Thunder, bleeding but unbowed, broke free and thundered away toward the shelter of the forest's edge, the wild dogs trailing behind, snarling but hesitant. As Thunder disappeared into the shadows, the pack's leader let out a low, frustrated howl that seemed to echo the pain of hunger and loss. In the quiet aftermath, the first human witnesses appeared, two local ranchers returning from a late day checking fences, their eyes wide with astonishment and a touch of fear at the raw scene they had just witnessed. One was a young man named Caleb, whose life had been shaped by the rugged Montana frontier and the weight of his family's ranch legacy. The other, older and quieter, was Mara, a wildlife ranger with a deep respect for the wilderness and a soul bruised by personal loss. They watched as Thunder limped into the tree line, his breath ragged but steady, blood staining the dry earth beneath his hooves. Caleb's heart clenched at the sight of the proud buffalo wounded yet unyielding, and Mara felt an old ache stir in her chest, a reflection of battles lost and resilience still burning beneath the scars. This was no ordinary buffalo. This was a creature forged in fire and sorrow, embodying a spirit both wild and wise. Little did they know that this encounter was only the beginning of a story that would bind them together, a tale of courage, sacrifice, and an unspoken bond that defied the boundaries between human and beast. As the night deepened, a sudden chilling howl cut through the darkness once more. The wild dogs had returned. Their eyes gleamed like embers in the moonlight, shadows among shadows, hungry and relentless. But this time, the forest held its breath, and Thunder's battle was far from over. In the heart of the Montana wilderness, under a sky heavy with stars and secrets, a tale of survival and unexpected compassion was about to unfold, a story that would challenge what it meant to be fierce, to protect, and, ultimately, to love beyond instinct. Readers, follow this journey of Thunder, the buffalo who dared to show mercy in the face of savage hunger, and witness the profound power of empathy woven through the wild. Stay with us for the next part of this extraordinary saga. What does it mean to be truly brave? To protect not only oneself but to reach beyond. risking everything for a chance at understanding. Thunder's story is just beginning. In the pale gray light of dawn, the vast Montana wilderness lay cloaked in a shimmering mist, each blade of grass heavy with dew that sparkled like scattered diamonds. Thunder, the mighty buffalo, moved cautiously along the edge of the dense forest, the weight of his wounds a constant reminder of the fierce encounter the night before. His breathing was labored, the deep cuts on his flanks and legs stinging with every step, yet his resolve remained unbroken. The wild dogs, the relentless pack that had hunted him, were nowhere to be seen for the moment, but their howls echoed faintly through the trees, a haunting reminder that the danger was far from over. As Thunder limped forward, a strange sensation prickled at his senses, a mingling of caution and curiosity. From the underbrush emerged a small figure, a young dog, much smaller than the feral pack, with golden fur matted and eyes wide with fear. The dog stumbled, caught in a swampy patch where the earth gave way beneath its paws, struggling desperately to free itself from the clinging mud. Thunder's keen eyes softened. In that moment, the fierce warrior saw not a threat, but a vulnerable soul battling the unforgiving land. Slowly, almost tentatively, he approached, his massive frame casting a shadow that chilled the morning air. The golden dog whimpered softly, struggling futilely, eyes darting in panic as the weight of the mud sucked it deeper. Thunder's heart, worn yet tender, compelled him to act. With deliberate care, he knelt beside the trapped animal, using his broad muzzle to nudge and pull at the vines and muck that held it captive. It was a slow, arduous effort, his muscles ached, and each movement sent sharp pain through his already wounded body, but the determination in his gaze never wavered. Finally, with a final mighty shove, the dog was freed, collapsing into the soft grass, panting and trembling. Instead of running, the dog looked up at Thunder with a gaze filled with something unspoken, a mixture of awe, gratitude, and something more profound, recognition. It was as if a fragile bridge had formed between two wild hearts, each scarred by the hardships of survival yet capable of unexpected kindness. As the sun rose higher, casting golden beams through the thinning fog, the distant sound of howling drew near. The wild pack was returning, their numbers greater and their hunger fiercer than before. Yet this time, something had shifted. The leader of the pack, the grizzled male who had faced Thunder in battle, hesitated at the forest's edge, his gaze flickering between the injured buffalo and the small dog now resting beside him. A moment passed, heavy with tension, and then an almost imperceptible change occurred in the pack's demeanor. The snarls softened into low growls, the aggressive stance easing into cautious watchfulness. It was clear, the pack sensed the bond between Thunder and the rescued dog, and in some unspoken primal way, respect replaced animosity. Nearby, Caleb and Mara had followed the faint trail left by the wounded buffalo, their eyes wide with wonder at the unlikely scene unfolding before them. Mara, whose years as a ranger had taught her the harsh realities of nature, felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. She saw in Thunder's actions a mirror of her own struggle, how kindness and courage could rise even amid pain and loss. Caleb, too, was moved, the rugged rancher's hardened exterior softened by the sight of two creatures forging a connection that transcended survival. The golden dog, whom Caleb had seen limping and struggling near his family's lands for days, was a symbol of vulnerability and resilience, a living testament to the fragile balance between wildness and trust. As the pack began to settle, an uneasy peace took hold beneath the towering pines. Thunder, despite the throbbing pain in his legs, remained vigilant, standing guard not just over himself but over this new companion who had unknowingly captured his fierce protection. But the wilderness was unforgiving. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, a sudden storm brewing with ominous speed. The winds howled through the trees, and the first drops of rain fell cold and heavy, turning the earth beneath their feet into slick mud. Thunder sensed the impending peril, not just from nature's wrath but from the fragile alliances he had forged. He knew that survival depended not only on strength but on the courage to protect what mattered most, even at great personal risk. As the storm unleashed its fury, Caleb and Mara worked hurriedly to track the animals, determined to aid in whatever way they could. Mara's voice cracked with urgency over her radio, calling for backup, while Caleb prepared a makeshift shelter near the forest's edge, hoping to offer refuge. The wild dogs, surprisingly, stayed close, not as enemies but as wary companions, their instincts subdued by the bond forged in desperation and kindness. Yet beneath this fragile harmony lurked the ever-present threat of human encroachment, hunters seeking to claim the wilderness as their own, unaware or indifferent to the delicate lives that depended on it. Thunder's mind raced as he limped through the storm, torn between fleeing to safety and standing firm to defend the new family he had chosen. Pain stabbed through his flanks with every step, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. In a moment of quiet strength amid the chaos, Thunder paused by a fallen ancient tree, its massive roots twisted like the hands of time itself. He lowered his head, eyes closed, drawing from the earth's deep pulse a well of resilience and purpose. He was no longer just a creature of instinct but a guardian, one whose choices would ripple through the lives of both beasts and humans alike. As the night deepened, the rain pounding like a relentless drum, Thunder made a silent vow, to protect the golden dog, to confront the wild pack's hunger with unyielding courage, and to stand as a beacon of hope for those who believed in the power of compassion to transcend even the fiercest of wild battles. Caleb and Mara watched from the shadows, hearts pounding in sync with the thunder overhead, knowing that the story they were witnessing was far greater than a simple clash of animals. It was a testament to the unbreakable bonds that unite us all, beyond species and survival. And as the storm raged on, so too did the fragile dance between fear and faith, between savagery and sacrifice, painting the Montana wilds with a story that would echo for generations. Readers, join us as Thunder's journey deepens, revealing the true meaning of loyalty, courage, and the unexpected grace found in the heart of the wild. What choices will define him? What sacrifices will shape the legacy he leaves behind? The path ahead is fraught with peril, but also with the promise of redemption. Stay with us for the next chapter of this epic tale. Beneath the bruised and restless sky of a Montana dawn, the forest held its breath in the aftermath of the storm, the heavy air still charged with electricity and the scent of wet earth and pine. Thunder, the mighty buffalo, bore the fresh wounds of the rain-soaked battle, his coat matted with mud and blood, each breath a ragged testament to his will to survive. Beside him, the golden dog, whom he had saved from the clutches of the swamp and the fury of the wild pack, limped with a newfound trust that was fragile yet unbreakable. The world around them was a tapestry of shadows and light, of life hanging precariously between the forces of nature and the encroaching presence of mankind. Thunder's powerful legs, despite the pain, carried him steadily along the broken path that led deeper into the wilderness, a place where the boundaries between predator and protector blurred in the struggle to endure. The wild dogs, once merciless hunters, now trailed at a cautious distance, their snarls replaced by low murmurs, their eyes reflecting a reluctant respect for the buffalo who had spared one of their own. It was a delicate balance, a tenuous truce forged in the crucible of survival and unexpected compassion. Yet as the forest stirred awake, new threats loomed in the shadows. The distant rumble of engines echoed faintly through the trees. Human hunters, armed and relentless, driven by greed and a callous disregard for the fragile web of life around them. Caleb and Mara, who had followed the trail through the storm, hurried to intercept, their hearts heavy with urgency and hope. Mara's radio crackled with voices coordinating a response, while Caleb prepared traps and barriers, desperate to shield the wild sanctuary from the approaching danger. Amid this mounting tension, Thunder faced a profound moral choice that would define his very nature. The golden dog, whose spirit had been battered by fear and hunger, now looked to him not merely as a savior but as a guardian, a leader who had chosen mercy over wrath. Thunder could feel the eyes of the pack upon him, their silent challenge a question whispered through the rustling leaves. Would he defend this fragile new family at any cost, or retreat into the solitude of the wilderness to save himself? The answer came not from instinct but from a deep well of empathy, a profound recognition that strength meant more than brute force. It meant sacrifice, love, and the courage to stand for others. As the hunters closed in, setting traps and laying snares, Thunder positioned himself between danger and those he had come to protect. His massive form was a fortress of muscle and determination, a living bulwark against the shadows creeping from the edge of the forest. The golden dog, once trembling and alone, now stood beside him, a symbol of hope and resilience. The wild dogs, sensing the resolve of their unlikely leader, moved with renewed purpose, not as enemies, but as allies in this fight for survival. The confrontation was fierce and desperate. Thunder's hooves thundered against the earth, his breath a roar that shook the trees. He charged with calculated power, breaking traps and scattering hunters, each movement a testament to the unyielding spirit within. Caleb and Mara fought alongside, their voices raised in defiance, their hands steady despite the chaos. Yet amidst the fury of battle, a deeper transformation unfolded. The hunters, once blind to the lives they threatened, began to see the fierce intelligence and unspoken bonds that connected buffalo, dog, and man alike. They witnessed not mere beasts but beings capable of love, sacrifice, and hope. As dawn broke through the shattered canopy, the battle waned, the hunters retreating into the distance, their hearts marked by the indelible imprint of what they had witnessed. Thunder, though battered and weary, stood victorious, not just over enemies but over the barriers that had separated worlds. In the quiet aftermath, Mara knelt beside the golden dog, tears mingling with mud as she whispered promises of protection and care. Caleb laid a steady hand on Thunder's broad shoulder, a silent pledge forged between human and beast. The wilderness, scarred but resilient, held the echoes of a story that would ripple far beyond the borders of Montana, a story of unlikely alliances, fierce courage, and the profound power of empathy. Readers, as Thunder's journey continues, prepare to witness moments of heartbreak and hope, of challenge and redemption. What sacrifices will be made in the days ahead? How will this bond between species shape the future of the wild lands they call home? Stay with us for the next chapter in this epic saga, a testament to the enduring spirit that dwells in the heart of the wild and the courage it takes to protect what we love. The first light of dawn filtered softly through the thick canopy of Montana's ancient pines, casting dappled patterns of gold and shadow across the damp earth. Thunder, the formidable buffalo, moved slowly but deliberately through the dense undergrowth, each step weighted by fresh scars and the lingering ache of old wounds. His breath steamed in the crisp morning air, mingling with the mist that clung stubbornly to the rolling hills and whispering grasses. Beside him trotted the golden dog, whose once fragile spirit had blossomed into a fierce yet cautious companion. The dog's amber eyes scanned the surroundings warily, alert to every rustle and snap that might betray the approach of danger. Together, they navigated the tangled wilderness, bound by an unspoken trust forged in trials of blood and storm. The fragile peace they had won from the wild pack of dogs last night seemed almost surreal beneath the calm sky, yet the wilderness was anything but forgiving. A tension hummed through the forest, a pulse of unseen eyes and unheard footsteps that unsettled even the weathered ranger, Mara, and the rancher, Caleb, who trailed at a cautious distance. They had come not just to witness this extraordinary bond, but to protect it from the encroaching shadow of human greed and ignorance. Thunder's immense body moved with a quiet dignity, the heavy muscles beneath his scarred hide rippling like waves of granite as he forced himself forward despite pain that seared like fire with every step. The golden dog stayed close, a living tether to the buffalo's fierce compassion, and a symbol of hope that transcended the brutal laws of survival. The distant rumble of machinery, the careless chatter of men armed with guns and traps, drifted faintly through the trees, a chilling reminder that the wilderness was no longer a refuge but a battleground. Thunder's eyes darkened with a deep, ancient sorrow, memories of lost kin and shattered herds flickering through his mind like ghostly echoes. Yet beneath the sorrow burned an unquenchable flame of resolve. This was no longer just his fight for survival but a war for the future of all who called this land home, wild and tame alike. As they pressed deeper into the forest, the companions came upon a clearing where the remains of an old logging camp lay half swallowed by moss and vines. Rusted equipment and rotting cabins told tales of human ambition and neglect, scars on the land that mirrored those on Thunder's own body. It was here that Mara stopped, her keen eyes scanning the horizon, sensing both hope and threat entwined in the ancient trees. She knelt beside the golden dog, checking its wounds with gentle hands, whispering reassurances as if the fragile creature understood the weight of her words. Caleb circled the perimeter, setting traps of his own, not to harm but to warn and protect, a barrier between sanctuary and destruction. Suddenly, a shrill cry pierced the stillness, the unmistakable howl of the wild pack. They had come again, not as enemies but as desperate survivors, driven to the edge by hunger and fear. But something was different this time. The pack hesitated at the clearing's edge, eyes flickering between Thunder and the humans. A fragile truce hung in the air, fragile as a spider's web but no less real. Thunder lowered his massive head, muscles taut as a bowstring, and let out a low, commanding rumble that seemed to weave through the very earth. The golden dog stepped forward, barking softly in an unfamiliar tongue, bridging the divide between species with the pure language of loyalty and trust. The hunters arrived then, their boots crunching on the underbrush, guns slung carelessly over shoulders, faces hardened by years of conquest and disregard. Mara and Caleb stepped between them and the animals, voices raised in urgent pleas, a desperate attempt to remind these men of the sacred balance between taking and giving, between destruction and preservation. A tense standoff ensued, charged with years of history and pain. Thunder, despite his wounds, stood firm, a living monument to resilience and grace. The golden dog barked in defiance, a spark of wild spirit igniting hearts even hardened by cynicism. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The hunters faltered. The raw power and dignity of Thunder, combined with the undeniable bond shared with the dog and witnessed by Mara and Caleb, pierced the veil of indifference. Guns were lowered, harsh words softened, and a new understanding began to dawn. The forest seemed to exhale, the tension melting into a cautious hope. Yet the journey was far from over. Thunder's body bore the marks of battle, his spirit tested beyond limits. The golden dog, once a trembling victim, had grown into a symbol of courage and compassion. Mara and Caleb, once mere observers, now found themselves guardians of a fragile peace forged by the wild's own heartbeat. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the glistening leaves and dew-soaked grasses, Thunder let out a deep, resonant bellow, an ancient song of survival, sacrifice, and hope that echoed across the Montana wilderness. This was not just a story of a buffalo and a dog, of man and beast. It was a testament to the enduring power of empathy, the courage to choose mercy over might, and the unbreakable bonds that unite us all. Readers, as Thunder's journey unfolds, we are reminded that true strength lies not in domination but in the heart's capacity to protect, to forgive, and to love beyond the confines of instinct. What would you sacrifice to defend those you love? How far would you go to bridge the divides that separate us? The answers lie ahead, in the chapters yet unwritten. Stay with us as this epic saga of survival and compassion continues to unfold beneath the boundless Montana sky. The sun dipped low behind the rolling Montana hills, casting long shadows that stretched like silent sentinels over the vast prairies and dense forests. Thunder, the mighty buffalo whose broad frame bore the scars of battle and the weight of unyielding resolve, stood at the edge of a placid river that cut through the wilderness like a shimmering vein of life. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, alive with the rustle of leaves and distant calls of birds settling in for the night. Beside him, the golden dog, once a frightened and trapped soul, rested on trembling legs but eyes burning with a fierce loyalty that had blossomed in the crucible of hardship. The fragile alliance forged between buffalo, dog, and the wary pack of wild dogs now trailed cautiously behind was a delicate thread woven through the tapestry of survival, resilience, and unexpected friendship. Yet beneath the serene facade, tension simmered like an unseen storm. The hunters, though pushed back by the recent confrontation, had not retreated far. Their presence lingered like a dark cloud over the land, threatening to unravel the fragile peace that had been so hard won. Caleb and Mara worked tirelessly, their hands raw and their spirits steeled, setting traps, not to kill, but to warn and to protect the precious sanctuary where Thunder and his newfound family sought refuge. Mara's eyes, sharp and watchful, reflected the harsh truth that this was a fight not just for survival, but for the soul of the wilderness itself. The golden dog moved closer to Thunder's side, a living testament to the power of compassion amidst cruelty, a beacon in the wild that refused to be extinguished. As dusk settled, a sudden, urgent howl shattered the stillness, an alarm echoing through the trees, signaling the return of the wild pack. Their eyes glimmered with hunger, but also with a dawning respect for the buffalo who had once spared one of their own. The pack's leader, a battle-worn canine with a scar that ran across his muzzle, approached Thunder with cautious deference, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had formed between them. But the wilderness held another secret, a peril that lurked not in the form of beasts, but in the unpredictable fury of nature itself. A sudden rise in the river's current, the distant rumble of thunder from a gathering storm, and the unmistakable signs of an impending flood that threatened to swallow the riverbanks and the fragile life along its edges. Thunder's instincts screamed warning as the skies darkened and winds whipped through the treetops, bending branches and stirring the grasses into a frenzy. The buffalo's mighty muscles tensed, every fiber of his being alert to the impending crisis. The golden dog barked, a sharp, anxious sound that echoed through the forest, rallying the pack and signaling the need for immediate action. Mara and Caleb scrambled to gather what supplies they could, their faces etched with worry but their hearts beating with determination. Together, humans and animals faced the wrath of the storm, a force indifferent to their struggles yet offering a chance for unity and courage to shine through. The floodwaters rose swiftly, turning the gentle river into a roaring torrent that threatened to tear through the landscape, carrying away nests, dens, and hopes alike. Thunder charged into the swirling waters without hesitation, using his bulk to shield the smaller creatures caught in the rising tide. He pushed against the current, a living fortress of strength and compassion, guiding the golden dog and members of the pack to higher ground. The struggle was relentless, raging water clawing at his legs, the biting cold seeping through his soaked fur, the weight of exhaustion pressing down like a crushing boulder. Yet Thunder's spirit burned brighter than the storm, fueled by a love and loyalty that transcended species and survival. As the night deepened and rain poured in sheets, Caleb and Mara found themselves stranded on a rocky outcrop, watching in awe and terror as the buffalo battled the flood with a courage that defied comprehension. Mara's voice trembled with emotion as she whispered a prayer for the mighty guardian who had become a symbol of hope and sacrifice. Hours stretched into an eternity before the storm finally spent its fury, leaving a landscape scarred but still breathing. The floodwaters receded, revealing the aftermath of destruction and survival, loss and resilience. Thunder stood victorious but weary, a living testament to the power of selflessness and the unbreakable bonds forged in adversity. The golden dog, now a steadfast companion, nuzzled against Thunder's massive flank, a silent promise of companionship through whatever trials lay ahead. Caleb and Mara descended from their refuge, hearts full of gratitude and newfound respect for the wild world and the creatures who called it home. In the days that followed, the community rallied, inspired by the story of Thunder's bravery and the fragile alliance that had weathered both human and natural storms. Plans were made to protect the wilderness, to honor the guardian buffalo who had risked everything for others, and to remind all that true strength lies not in dominance, but in compassion and courage. As the sun rose over the healing land, Thunder raised his mighty head to the sky, a triumphant bellow rolling across the prairie like thunder itself, a call to those who would listen, a song of survival, love, and the enduring spirit of the wild. Readers, this chapter in Thunder's saga reveals that sometimes, the greatest battles are not fought against enemies, but against the forces that threaten to break the fragile threads of connection and hope. What does true courage mean to you? How do you choose to protect those you love, even when the storm seems overwhelming? Stay with us as this extraordinary journey continues, weaving together the wild and the human, the fierce and the gentle, in a timeless dance of life and legacy. The golden hues of autumn filtered through the towering pines and rolling prairies of Montana, casting a warm glow over the wilderness that had become both sanctuary and battleground for Thunder, the mighty buffalo whose journey of survival and compassion had captivated hearts far beyond the forests and rivers he called home. His powerful frame, still marked by the scars of countless trials, moved steadily through the thick underbrush, each step a testament to the resilience that defined him, not merely as a beast of muscle and instinct, but as a guardian of a fragile peace forged between species and souls. The golden dog trotted loyally at his side, their bond a living symbol of hope amidst the encroaching shadows of uncertainty. The wild pack of dogs, now tempered by respect and the shared memories of hardship and salvation, kept a cautious but watchful distance, their eyes reflecting the uneasy balance between old instincts and new alliances. Yet beneath this fragile harmony, winds of change stirred, bringing with them both promise and peril. Elara, the dedicated wildlife biologist whose unwavering belief in coexistence had breathed new life into the region's conservation efforts, arrived with a team of volunteers and researchers. They came armed not with weapons, but with cameras, notebooks, and a fierce determination to protect the delicate ecosystems and the creatures who inhabited them. Mara and Caleb, once solitary guardians of the wilderness, now found themselves at the heart of a growing movement, a community united by the stories of Thunder's courage and the undeniable bond between the buffalo and the golden dog. Together, they worked to establish protected corridors, educate local ranchers, and advocate for policies that balanced human needs with the rights of the wild. But nature's challenges were relentless. A harsh winter descended with icy winds and relentless snow, blanketing the landscape in a frozen silence that tested the limits of endurance. Thunder's breath steamed in the cold air as he led the golden dog and the wild pack to sheltered valleys and hidden groves, navigating treacherous terrain where food was scarce and danger lurked in every shadow. The harshness of the season strained alliances and tested the resolve of all who fought to survive. In one harrowing night, a blizzard trapped the group in a narrow canyon, the howling winds threatening to snuff out life itself. Thunder's massive form became a shield, his body pressed against the golden dog and the weakest members of the pack, sharing warmth and protection in a desperate bid to endure the storm's fury. Mara and Caleb, braving the storm's wrath, navigated perilous slopes to deliver supplies and aid, their determination fueled by the deepening connection they felt with these wild souls. Through the long, frozen nights, stories were shared and bonds deepened, tales of loss and hope, of sacrifice and redemption that transcended the boundaries between species and kindled a fierce, unbreakable spirit. As spring's first tender shoots emerged from the thawing earth, a new challenge arose, a devastating wildfire sparked by lightning, racing through the dry forests with terrifying speed and heat. Thunder, despite the lingering fatigue of winter, charged into the heart of the inferno, his hooves pounding the scorched earth as he guided the golden dog and the pack to safety. The smoke stung their eyes and filled their lungs, but the fire's fury was no match for their unity and courage. Mara, Caleb, and Alara coordinated rescue efforts, racing against time to create firebreaks and evacuate vulnerable wildlife, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that the land they loved was once again scarred. In the aftermath, as the ash settled and the forest began its slow, painful recovery, Thunder's presence became a beacon of renewal and resilience. His roar echoed across the charred landscape, a call to life and hope that stirred the hearts of all who heard it. The golden dog, now strong and fearless, bounded through the recovering meadows, a living testament to the power of love and survival. The wild pack, tempered by hardship and bound by newfound loyalty, thrived amidst the rebirth of the wilderness. Communities rallied to support restoration efforts, inspired by the saga of Thunder and his companions. Schools taught the lessons of coexistence, ranchers adopted sustainable practices, and policymakers crafted protections that honored the delicate balance of life. As summer bathed the Montana plains in golden light, Thunder stood beneath a solitary ancient tree, its branches reaching skyward like arms of the earth itself. He lowered his massive head in quiet reverence, the weight of his journey etched into every scar and every breath. Beside him, the golden dog rested, their bond unspoken but deeply understood. Readers, this chapter of Thunder's epic journey reveals the relentless cycles of destruction and renewal that define the wild, and the extraordinary strength born of unity and compassion. What storms have you weathered that transformed your spirit? How do you find hope when the world seems to burn around you? The answers lie within us all, waiting to be discovered as this timeless saga continues beneath the endless Montana sky. Stay with us as we approach the final chapter, where courage, sacrifice, and love will collide in a moment that will echo through the ages, forever changing the lives entwined in this extraordinary tale. Thunder's journey through the rugged Montana wilderness had become legend, an epic tale not merely of survival, but of a bond that transcended species, a symbol of hope and courage amid the relentless forces of nature and humanity's often careless hand. As the warm golden light of late summer filtered through the ancient trees and rolled over the vast prairies, Thunder stood beneath the towering branches of the solitary ancient tree that had witnessed countless seasons pass. His massive frame, scarred but unbowed, radiated a quiet strength that inspired all who glimpsed him. The golden dog rested faithfully by his side, a living testament to the power of empathy born from shared trials and unwavering loyalty. Around them, the wild pack moved with a newfound harmony, their snarls and growls softened into cautious acknowledgments of the buffalo's place as protector and ally. Yet, despite the fragile peace, the wilderness held its breath, for the final chapter of Thunder's saga was about to unfold, a moment where courage, sacrifice, and love would collide with the unforgiving realities of the world they fought so hard to protect. The human communities that had once viewed the wilderness with skepticism and fear had been transformed by the stories of Thunder's bravery and the unbreakable bonds he forged. Mara, Caleb, and Alara had become leaders in a growing movement to safeguard the fragile ecosystems and the creatures that called them home. Together with dedicated volunteers, scientists, and local ranchers, they worked tirelessly to expand protected areas, implement sustainable practices, and educate the next generation on the importance of coexistence. Yet even as hope blossomed, threats loomed on the horizon. Illegal poachers, driven by greed and ignorance, had begun to infiltrate the region, their traps and snares a deadly menace to all wildlife. One fateful day, as Thunder and the Golden Dog patrolled the edges of their territory, they stumbled upon a cruel trap set for buffalo, a steel-jawed snare that clamped around Thunder's massive leg with brutal force. The pain was searing, a fiery reminder of humanity's darkest impulses. The wild pack howled in alarm, rallying around their fallen guardian, while the Golden Dog nuzzled Thunder's wounded leg, offering comfort and steadfast companionship. Mara and Alara, alerted by distant cries, rushed to the scene, their hearts pounding with urgency and dread. With careful hands and trembling voices, they worked to free Thunder from the merciless trap, their actions a desperate act of love and respect that transcended the boundaries of species. As night fell and the stars blinked silently overhead, Thunder lay weakened but unbroken, the weight of his sacrifice pressing heavily upon all who cared for him. Yet, even in pain, his spirit remained indomitable. The days that followed were a testament to resilience and community. Thunder's recovery was slow and arduous, requiring the collective efforts of humans and animals alike. The Golden Dog remained ever at his side, a vigilant guardian and unwavering friend. The wild pack, once fierce rivals, now stood as protectors of their fallen leader, their loyalty forged in the fires of shared struggle. In the face of adversity, the community rallied stronger than ever, their resolve hardened by the stark reminder of what was at stake. Poachers were tracked and brought to justice, awareness spread like wildfire, and policies tightened to safeguard the land and its inhabitants. Thunder's story became a beacon, illuminating the path toward a future where wild hearts and human hands worked in harmony to heal a wounded world. In the quiet moments beneath the ancient tree, as Thunder lifted his head toward the rising sun, his bellow echoed across the valleys and hills, a call to courage, to compassion, and to the enduring power of love that knows no boundaries. His journey was far more than the tale of a buffalo and a dog. It was a timeless testament to the strength found in choosing mercy over might, to the profound impact one soul can have on the world. Readers, as we close this epic chapter, we are reminded that true heroism lies in the courage to protect, to forgive, and to love beyond the confines of instinct or species. What legacy will you leave in the wild places of your life? How will you choose to stand for those who cannot speak? Thunder's story invites us all to listen, to learn, and to act with a heart wide open beneath the boundless Montana sky. May his roar forever inspire the echoes of hope, resilience, and unity within us all. Thunder's breath came in heavy clouds as he moved through the shadowed woods bordering the vast Montana prairies, the early morning mist curling around his great bulk like a ghostly veil. The dense foliage parted beneath his hooves, the soft earth damp from the night's rain yielding to his weight. Every step was measured, each movement imbued with the wisdom of countless seasons survived. The scars on his flank a testament to battles both won and endured, yet his eyes burned with a fierce determination that transcended pain or fatigue. At his side, the Golden Dog, now grown strong and confident, trotted quietly, its keen gaze sweeping the surroundings, ears alert to every whisper of the forest. The wild pack, once antagonists, moved in a loose, wary formation nearby, an uneasy alliance born not of friendship but of mutual respect and necessity. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, interspersed with the faint, musky odor of the pack's presence. For days, they had journeyed together, a curious and fragile fellowship bound by the trials of survival and the shifting tides of fate. Ahead, the prairies stretched wide and wild, golden waves of grass undulating in the morning breeze. But beyond this familiar expanse loomed a new threat, one both ancient and unforgiving. Rumors had reached the ears of the rangers, Caleb and Mara, that a new group of poachers had infiltrated the region, armed with traps, rifles, and an indifference to the sanctity of life that chilled even the most hardened conservationists. The thought of Thunder caught in a cruel snare again sent a shudder through the local community, and the urgency to protect him intensified. Thunder's every instinct told him to avoid human encampments, to stay within the safe embrace of the wilderness. Yet, his heart, scarred but unbroken, compelled him onward, driven by an unspoken understanding that survival was not merely for himself, but for all who depended on the delicate balance of these lands. As the sun broke through the canopy, golden shafts piercing the veil of mist, Thunder paused at the edge of a clearing where the ground bore fresh signs of human intrusion: trampled grass, discarded wrappers, and the faint glint of metal traps half hidden beneath the foliage. The golden dog growled low, a warning tempered with apprehension. The wild pack's hackles rose, eyes narrowing with tension. Thunder lowered his massive head, nostrils flaring as he sniffed the air, sensing the danger that lurked unseen. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the trees, the telltale sound of a rifle being cocked. Instinct and experience fused as Thunder sprang into action, his powerful legs propelling him forward with breathtaking speed. The golden dog barked urgently, circling to ward off the approaching figures. From the undergrowth emerged a group of men clad in dark clothing, faces obscured by hats and scarves. Their eyes gleamed with greed and determination, rifles aimed with deadly precision. Thunder's deep bellow shattered the morning stillness, a primal roar that warned of fierce retribution. The first trap was sprung as a steel jaw clamped around his thick leg, pain flashing like lightning through his massive frame. He thrashed violently, but the snare held fast. The poachers advanced, intent on securing their prize. Yet, this was no ordinary buffalo. This was Thunder, the guardian of the prairie, the symbol of resilience. With a mighty heave, he broke free, snapping the trap and sending the men sprawling. The golden dog lunged forward, biting and snarling with fierce loyalty. The wild pack joined the fray, their teeth flashing in the dappled sunlight as chaos erupted. But the poachers were many, their weapons deadly and relentless. Amidst the tumult, a sudden crack of a rifle shattered the air, and a sharp cry rang out, a warning shot from Mara, who had arrived with Caleb and Elara, guns lowered but ready. "Stop!" Mara's voice cut through the chaos, commanding and resolute. The poachers hesitated, caught between greed and the raw power of nature's fury embodied in Thunder and his allies. Slowly, tension eased as Mara and her team moved forward, negotiating, pleading for peace and the protection of the wild. The poachers, weary and outmatched by the fierce unity they faced, retreated into the shadows from whence they came. The clearing fell silent save for the labored breaths of those who remained. Thunder stood tall, chest heaving, muscles taut but unyielding. The golden dog nuzzled his side, offering comfort and companionship. The wild pack circled protectively, their snarls now tempered by respect and trust. Caleb approached slowly, extending a hand toward Thunder, who sniffed cautiously before lowering his head in acceptance. "We'll protect you," Caleb whispered, voice thick with emotion. The bond between man and beast, forged through trials and sacrifice, grew stronger in that moment. Days turned into weeks, and Thunder's legend spread far and wide, inspiring a movement to safeguard the wilderness and its inhabitants. The local community rallied, setting up patrols and educating others about the importance of coexistence and respect for nature. Mara, Caleb, and Elara worked tirelessly to expand protected areas, enforce anti-poaching laws, and foster understanding between humans and wildlife. Thunder's scars remained, reminders of battles fought, but his spirit soared, undaunted, unbroken. The golden dog, now a symbol of loyalty and courage, continued to shadow him, their partnership a beacon of hope. The wild pack, once feared adversaries, thrived alongside Thunder, their lives intertwined by shared survival and mutual respect. Together, they embodied the enduring truth that strength lies not in domination, but in compassion and unity. Under the endless Montana sky, Thunder's mighty roar echoed, a call to all who heard it to stand for the wild, to protect what is precious, and to recognize the profound connections that bind all living souls. This was no mere tale of a buffalo. It was a saga of resilience, love, and the timeless dance between nature and humanity. As the sun set behind the distant mountains, painting the prairies in hues of fire and gold, readers are left to ponder. In your own life, where do you find the courage to stand tall? What bonds do you nurture that transcend difference and adversity? Thunder's story invites us to reflect, to act, and to believe in the power of hope against all odds. And so, beneath the vast Montana sky, the saga continues, wild, free, and eternal.